Learning about all the different peptides is already complex enough, but when you start stacking them together, it gets overwhelming. Now, here's the thing. If you approach stacking strategically, you can create a system where the peptides amplify each other's benefits. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. This video is all about peptide stacks, how certain peptides can be combined to deliver better, more targeted results. The goal isn't so much to show you the specific stacks as it is to give you an idea of how to strategically combine different peptides into a single stack targeted at a single outcome. We'll start by explaining what a peptide stack actually is, the goal behind stacking, and how it works. Then I'll walk you through an example stack that I designed to target a specific outcome, the core peptides that I started with, an additional peptide that I added for more targeted results, and then a supplement and a lifestyle protocol that I blended in to amplify the results that this stack could achieve even further. By the way, I'm Hitch. I'm 76 years old, but I've reversed my biological age by a couple of decades. Longevity is what I do all day long, every day. Now, before we go any further, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I'm not making any recommendations, nor am I advising you to take peptides. I'm just sharing what I've learned about peptides in hopes that it might be helpful or useful. All right, before we get into the actual stacks, let's get clear on what a stack even is. A peptide stack is just a group of peptides that are used together, usually as part of a short cycle to get a specific result. Not a general result, a targeted specific outcome. You're not just picking a bunch of compounds off a list and hoping that something works. When you stack peptides the right way, you're picking compounds that complement each other, that work on different pathways or mechanisms, but achieve similar goals. Let's say you want to accelerate recovery. One peptide might reduce inflammation. That's good, right? That might get us where we want to go. Now, another peptide might improve blood flow to damaged tissue. That's even better. And then maybe a third might drive cellular repair. Now we're talking. On their own, each one does something useful. But when they work together, they work in synergy. And that's when you start getting real, measurable results. Now, most peptide stacks are done in cycles, typically 4 to 6 weeks. When you run the stack for a short, focused period and then you stop, you let your system reset. After that cycle, you might switch to a different stack, one that supports brain function or improves sleep or targets fat loss. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. This is not shotgun therapy. This is not a throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks. This is precision work. You're using a small set of compounds that support each other, and you're doing it with a goal in mind. That's what a stack is. And that's why stacking, when it's done right, can give you way more than just a single peptide in isolation. Now, rather than walking through a bunch of different peptide stacks, I wanted to show you just one detailed example. The point isn't to memorize this particular combination. It's to see the thinking process behind it. I'll start with the basic core peptides that I want to use, and then add in other peptides and protocols to get the effect that I want to achieve. Once you understand the strategy, you can apply the same approach to any peptide stack that you want to build out. Now, this example was built to address peripheral neuropathy. I wanted to improve my neuropathy symptoms through actual healing, not simply masking them with painkillers. So I started out with 3 core peptides that are often stacked together: BPC-157, TB-500, and ghk-cu. Let's start with BPC-157. BP-157 is probably the most well-known healing peptide out there. It's a synthetic version of a compound found in your gastric juices, and it's been shown to support healing in muscles, tendons, ligaments, nerves, and even the gut. It works by reducing inflammation, promoting angiogenesis, that's the formation of new blood vessels, and protecting tissues under stress. And BPC-157 works systemically. You don't have to inject it directly into the injury for it to have an effect. Then there's TB-500, also known as thymosin beta-4. It's another repair-focused peptide, but it works differently. Where BPC-157 is more anti-inflammatory and vascular, TB500 is all about cell migration and tissue regeneration. It helps mobilize cells to the site of the injury so healing can actually happen. It's especially useful for tendons, ligaments, fascia, the stuff that gets injured easily and heals slowly. Now, these two, BP157 and TB500, are often stacked together and referred to as the Wolverine stack. That's because of the comic character Wolverine's insane healing and rejuvenation abilities. But there's a third peptide in this stack that adds even more value, and that's ghk-cu. ghk-cu is a copper peptide, and it's found naturally in the body, and it has a wide range of regenerative effects. It stimulates collagen production, improves blood flow, accelerates wound healing, and has a strong anti-inflammatory profile. It also supports skin repair, and it has been shown to reverse signs of aging in tissue, not just mask them. So when you add ghk-cu to BP157 and TB500, what you get is a three-pronged approach. Reduce inflammation, regenerate tissue, and support vascular and structural remodeling. Now, when these three peptides are stacked together, they're called GLOW. I'm guessing that's in reference to glowing skin. Now, that's the core that I started with, but then I built this stack out even further. First, I added another peptide for a more targeted outcome, ARA290. ARA290 is a specialized peptide that targets nerve repair. It's been studied for diabetic neuropathy and small fiber neuropathy, but I didn't stop with peptides. I also stacked in red light therapy because red light boosts mitochondrial function, improves blood flow, and speeds up tissue healing, all of which complement what the other peptides are already doing. And then, on top of that, I added niacin, the flushing kind that makes your skin all red and tingly. That flushing effect, it's from vasodilation, blood vessels opening up, driving more oxygen, nutrients, and peptides right into the hard-to-reach areas. All of that, the peptides, the red light, the niacin, was just part of a stack that I built specifically to target and improve my peripheral neuropathy. And it worked, not instantly or completely, but over about 3 months, I think my symptoms improved by about 35 to 45%. I'm planning on doing it again in another cycle, probably in about 6 months. This is what I mean when I talk about stacking with intention. You're not just throwing ingredients together, you're building a system that moves your body in a specific direction. So I hope you're beginning to get an idea of how different peptides can be put together into a stack. But let's face it, peptides are complex. There's dozens of peptides, each with different mechanisms, timing, dosing, and stacking potential. You can't cover that in one video, not if you want to do it right. This video is just meant to give you a glimpse, not the full playbook. If you're going to tackle peptides, you need to be well informed. You need to understand how they work, how to source them, how to reconstitute and store them, how to administer them, as well as how to stack them. And you need a deep understanding of the various peptides, their mechanism of actions, their pathways, their dosing, timing, and cycling information. Now, I'll admit, when I first started looking into peptides, I was overwhelmed. There was just so much information coming at me that I didn't know where to start. It was just paralyzing, total overload. So eventually, I decided to bite the bullet, take it one step at a time, and go deep. I studied the research. I experimented on myself. I kept track of my results. And gradually, it began to coalesce into a framework that actually made sense. That's when I created a group coaching program called Primer on Peptides. It's an 8-week program with live sessions and a ton of resources that go way beyond what I can cover here. Now, if you're curious about joining the next cohort, or if you want details about everything that you'll get in this program, here's what you do. Click on the link in the description and it'll take you to the Longevity Alliance, a community that I created on school.com. This community is absolutely free to join and there's no commitment. Once you're inside, go to the community tab and you'll see a pinned post at the top of the page with all the details on the program and how to enroll. Now, in this video, I gave you just one example of a stack that I built to treat my peripheral neuropathy, but there are literally countless different ways that you can stack peptides together to achieve different results. You could create a stack to boost health span and longevity, or you could build a stack to help stimulate performance, or help improve your muscle mass, or your mitochondria, or your sex life. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's that stacking peptides is all about strategy. So here's the basic framework for building out any peptide stack. Start with the result that you want, the outcome that you want to achieve. Healing, cognition, hormone balance, longevity, whatever the target is. List the peptides that can deliver that result. Study their mechanisms. Each peptide works through a different specific pathway. Eliminate redundancy. If two peptides use the same pathway, stacking them usually won't add value. Look for synergy. The real power comes when you combine peptides that hit different mechanisms but achieve a similar result. That's when they amplify each other. And then finally, look for additional supplements or lifestyle protocols that you can add to your peptide stack to amplify those effects even further. Peptide stacking isn't about adding as many peptides as you can. It's about designing a system where every peptide plays a role, and together they create outcomes that no single peptide can deliver. So if you're ready to take peptide stacking to the next level, join me in the Primer on Peptides group coaching program. The link to sign up is right here. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Catch you guys next week.